Okay. So he says that you tell me of marvelous things, but more marvelous than anything is the suffering of men and women. There is no mystery. Mystery is something very secret, something very surprising secret is mystery, which is difficult to understand. He says, there is no mystery so great as misery. Misery is the sadness, trouble, very bad and poor condition of people is called misery. Fly over my city. Now the prince is requesting the bird to go and fly over the complete city. Little swallow, oh little bird, and tell me what you see there. Please go around the city and see if there is any trouble with any people in my city. So the swallow flew over the great city. On the order of the prince, this bird, little bird swallow, she went all over the great city and saw the rich making merry. And the bird saw that the rich people were very happy. The rich people were busy in their making merry. Merry making or making merry is one and the same thing, that the rich people were enjoying their life and they were in their beautiful houses. Because they are rich, they have beautiful houses, they are inside their houses and they're enjoying their life, and the bird can see that they are happy. But on the contrary, on the opposite of that, while the beggars were sitting at the gates. Inside the beautiful houses, rich people are there, happy and enjoying their life. And on the gates of these beautiful houses, who were sitting? The beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into dark lanes. The bird went into the dark streets also to find out if there is any problem and what kind of life the people are living, what they are doing, what kind of miseries and troubles they are facing in their life. Because you remember, the prince has told the bird to go around the city. And what did the bird see in the streets? The bird saw the white faces of starving children. Starving is those who have not eaten for a long time or they have not eaten stomach full. White faces, why the writer is writing white faces? Because malnutrition. They are not getting proper food, so their skin color has become white. Not exactly like white, means a different color from fair people. Because of malnutrition, the skin color changes sometimes. Less blood is there under the skin, so the writer is calling it white faced. Starving children looking out listlessly means in large number. Listlessly means without any hopes. They are looking out at the black streets. Under the archway of a arch is, half circle, that under the bridge, C shape. That bridge, two little boys were laying in each other's arms. They had huddled together. They were together sleep, trying to keep themselves warm as it is very, very cold night. So what is happening? These two beggar boys, they don't have house to go, so they are trying to keep themselves warm, sticking to each other under a bridge. Why under a bridge? Because it was raining and they did not want to get drenched wet. Because if they get wet, it is very cold. One, it is cold. Second, it is raining, so it will be horrible condition with these boys. Little boys were laying in each other's arms to try and keep themselves warm. How hungry we are, they said. They are talking to each other that they are very hungry. They don't have any food to eat. And then, when they were talking, they were there under the bridge. Suddenly, a watchman enters. When a watchman comes, he said very strictly and loudly, and in anger he spoke. He said, "You must not lie here," shouted the watchman. And they wandered out. Wandered out means they went out because they had no option. So they just ran from there and they went out into the rain. Is this clear, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So, I will give you time for revision also. Let us move to the next slide. Then he flew back. Then the bird flew back and told the prince what he had seen, because the prince had sent the bird out to see what is happening in the city. The bird sees this scene and comes back and tells the prince. The prince is really very upset to look at it. Now, prince wanted to help these boys. The prince said, I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. Because you remember in the beginning of the story only it is told that the whole statue was covered with leaves of gold. You remember already that ruby from his sword he has already given to that old lady who was preparing the gown for the queen's best maids or something. Then another one stone from his eyes, that was sapphire, he had given to that new writer, the young writer who was trying to complete the script. Then the second sapphire from his second eyes he had given to the match girl who had spoiled her matches, a matchbox, and she had dropped them in a gutter and she was crying. Her father was about to beat her if she goes empty handed without money to home. And then now this bird has seen that these boys were there and they didn't have anything to eat. They were trying to sleep under a bridge, but the watchman comes and he shoot them off. I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. You must take it off, leaf by leaf, and give it to the poor. The living away think that gold can make them happy. And living always think means the living people, the people who are alive, they always think that if they have more gold can make them more happy. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked off, till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. So you can remember that his shiny eyes were already taken off, and now wherever this bird saw the poor people, the people in misery, the bird gave all this one by one, all the leaves were taken out of the statue. Please revise this first paragraph. So now why the prince's statue was looking gray? It was looking gray because it was looking very dull. It was looking very dull because the whole gold was taken out of it. All precious stones were taken out of it. And the bird has had distributed every rich thing from the statue among the poor people with the order of or on the order of the prince. Happy Prince looked quite dull and grey. Leaf after leaf, the fine gold he brought to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier. Rosier means now the faces of the children, they could eat properly and they were happy, and they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now, they cried. We have bread now means we have food to eat now. We have sufficient food. We can eat and we can be happy. Then the snow came, and after some time, the snow started. And after the snow came the frost. Frost is very, very cold weather. After the snow turns to ice and becomes frozen. That is more cold than the snowfall. The streets looked as if they were made of silver because all the streets were full of snow, very cold. Everybody went about in furs. And in cold countries, the people do not wear the clothes like we wear. They wear the clothes of like in a different manner, because here in hot countries, in hot places, we prefer to wear cotton clothes, light color clothes. and little light clothes which can absorb our sweat. But in cold countries, the stuff of the cloth which they wear, it is different. It is always warm, and they wear in layers, one after the other. So many layers of clothes will be there, and fur keeps them warm. So they wear fur because, if I give you an example, the animals in uh, the places which are very hot places, suppose I compare with my state also, the dogs here have a very very thin layer on their skin because it is hot place. If I talk about my place, and if you see the dogs there, or if you go to any hill station, maybe Shimla, maybe Masuri, maybe any hill station, if you go and see the dogs there, no, you will see automatically it, as per the weather, their skin is very thick and a lot of fur is there on their skin to protect them from cold. So, why it is there? I'm just giving you an example that they need a lot of fur on their skin to protect themselves from cold. Here, they don't need that fur. So, the nature has, planned like that. But because there is no fur kind of a thing on human beings' skin, so our skin is all same whether we are in any country. Only the color changes. But we have to keep our skin covered so that we don't feel cold. So the people, in why I'm explaining everything, because that fur word has come there, so that people who are living in very cold countries, they start covering themselves with very thick fur. Fur, you understand? That skin
Yes,
covering
ma'am.
some dresses. So they start covering because it was very cold. The street looked as if they were made of silver. Everybody went about in furs, and the little boys wore scarlet caps. What are scarlet? Underline, you can write down red caps. And skated on the eye. It is actually fun for them because when the ice is there, the children will play on a lot of ice. So ice skating is done in those countries where in the streets there is ice. So the children are playing in the streets. Now come to the next slide. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder. So because, she had, sorry, this bird had already planned to go to other country, that is Egypt, because it was warm, it was comfortable for the bird. So bird was trying to migrate to that country, but because the bird was helping the prince on the order of the prince, she was going here and there and helping the prince and fulfilling the wishes of the prince. And the bird could not fly to Egypt. It was very very cold for the bird. The poor little bird grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince, though it was growing very very cold. But the bird did not want to leave the prince. Why she did not want to leave the prince? Because now the prince is blind, cannot see anything. He loved him too well. Now the bird loved the prince so much that did not want to leave the prince. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door when the baker was not looking, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. Now the bird did not have to eat anything, means there was nothing left in cold, everything is vanished there. So the bird is not able to eat anything. So whenever the bakers will throw tidbits outside, so this bird will go and pick up and eat something from there. So it was not very good condition for the bird. So when the baker is not looking at the bird will go and will take. But the bird has to keep uh, himself little warm. So what the bird is doing to keep himself warm, she will just flap the wings. So when flapping the wings will create a little bit of, body warming. When we run, we feel little hot, a little warm. So that body warming it was doing. But at last he knew that he was going to die. It was such cold that the bird cannot survive there. He had just enough strength to fly up to the prince's shoulders once more. Now there was no energy left in the bird's body. So, what did the bird do? It collected all complete strength and tried to fly till the shoulder of the prince and said, "Goodbye, dear prince." He murmured. The bird murmured means spoke, said in very low voice. The bird said, "Goodbye, dear prince. Will you let me kiss your hand?" "I am glad," the prince says, "I am glad you are going to Egypt at last, little bird." Said the prince, "You have stayed too long here, but you must kiss me on the lips, because I love you," because the bird had done a lot for him. "It is not to Egypt that I am going," said the swallow. "I am going to the house of death." Death is the brother of sleep, means death and sleep are brothers. Is he not? And he kissed the happy prince on his lips and fell down dead at his feet. So you can imagine that because of this cold, the bird dies and said final goodbye to the prince and died. At that moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue. At that time, when the bird said final goodbye to the prince, and the bird died, and when the bird died, a sound, a strange, a very different sound of a crack. You know, when something cracks, there is always a sound. So a sudden cracking sound could be heard inside the statue of the prince, as if something had broken. And the reality is that the leaden heart of the prince had broken into two pieces. The heart of the prince had been broken. The fact is that the leaden heart had snapped right in. Snap means was broken right into two, means two pieces. It certainly was a dreadfully hard frost. It was very, very cold. Early the next morning. So, what happened the next morning? The mayor, means the leader of that town, the mayor was walking in the square below in company with the town councillors. So the mayor came and he was doing the inspection of the town, what is right, what is wrong, what they should do, walking in the square. In the square, I have already explained to you what a square is. So, where the roads are diverging in four directions, and the center is called the square. So he was walking in the square below in the company with the town councillor. As they passed the column is a long pillar, a tall pillar. So they just were passing. He looked up at the statue. So what happened that the councillor and the mayor, they looked at the statue and said, "Dear me, how shabby the prince, happy prince looks. Shabby is how dirty and unattractive, not very shiny. How is this statue looking?" he said. "How shabby indeed, how dirty indeed." Indeed means really, cried the town councillors. They always agreed with the mayor and they went up to look at it. So they went and they saw carefully and closely the statue. The ruby has fallen out of the sword. Now they were thinking that the ruby is not there in the sword. Where has the ruby gone? The ruby has gone to that poor lady whose son was ill. His eyes are gone. Two sapphires were there in the eyes, and both are gone. The one has gone to the young writer, and the other has gone to the match girl. And he is golden no longer, and all the golden leaves are distributed among the beggars, said the mayor. Beggar, no longer. He did not know where it is going. I am telling you that all have gone to, but they did not know what happened. In fact, he is little better than a beggar. Now the mayor is saying that this statue is looking like a beggar, of a statue of a beggar, little better than a beggar, said the town councillors. Then here is actually a here is actually a dead bird at his feet. Oh, then they saw the body of the bird also at the feet of the statue. Then continued the mayor. We must really issue a proclamation that birds are, means we should make a rule, we should declare a rule that birds are not to be allowed to die here. We should make a rule that no bird should die near this place. And the town clerk made a notice of the suggestion to be circulated among the people. So what happened then? So they pulled down the statue of the happy prince. They took out the statue from there. As he is no longer beautiful, he is no longer useful, said the art professor at the university. So the art university, that professor also came and he did the inspection of the place. As he is no longer beautiful, he is no longer useful. Then they melted the statue in a furnace. Furnace is, right, where the metals are melted. So they took the statue to the furnace. What a strange thing, said the overseer of the workmen at the foundry. Foundry is a place where the furnace is. This broken lead heart will not melt. And they tried to melt everything. The whole statue melted. But what did not melt? Only the place where the heart was there. So they took the heart. They tried hard, but it did not melt. So what they finally did? They took the heart and threw it away. They said, when it is not melting, it is okay. So it is of no use. So what we should do? We should throw it away. This broken lead heart will not melt in the furnace. We must throw it away. So they threw it on a dust heap where the dead swallow was also laying. Story finishes here, but see the last lines, important lines of the story. Bring me, bring me the two most precious things in the city. Who said? The God. The God called his angels, and he said, get me the two most precious things from the earth. And the angels brought him the leaden heart of the prince and the dead body of that bird, swallow bird. You have rightly chosen, said God. God was also happy at the decision and the choice of the angels. For in my garden of paradise, this little bird shall sing